Hi, welcome to Teaching His Story. This is Dr. Brenda McMenamin. We're going to talk about English again this week. I'm just about to teach a series of classes from the NOAA Plan English Guide that's published from Foundation for American Christian Education. So it comes looking very similar to this, but I took it apart and I made a notebook out of it when I was teaching my girls in high school because I really wanted to inspire them to be good writers in every sense of that word. And so as I was praying and seeking the Lord as to what to share today, I really want to equip teachers and homeschoolers to teach English in a way that helps us master this subject so that we can use whatever curriculum serves us the best, depending on our children's needs and their gifts and their learning styles, especially from a biblical worldview and methodology. So I was looking for an example from our history in the colonial days because they learned differently back then. And I came upon one of the stories that I teach in my first volume for Authentic American History. This is my ninth grade American history class. And so this is volume one. And I use Phillis Wheatley as one of my examples of an American patriot. And she was sold into slavery by her village chief in the 1750s from Gambia, Africa, and was purchased by the Wheatley family, which sounds horrible, I know, but they saw her in the square and she was a tiny thing, probably 6, 7 years old. So they brought her home and their daughter taught her how to read, how to study the Bible, Greek, Latin, the British classics, how to study astronomy and geography. So she began to write when she was 14 years old. She wrote a lot of poems for people who had lost someone. So she'd write their funeral messages for them. And so she was actually asked to go to London by the Countess of Huntingdon and was emancipated soon afterward. The Wheatleys gave her her freedom, and she was married. She married John Peters and had 3 children. So I want to share some of her poems because if she could come from a place where she was so oppressed and yet learn the basics of English and bless so many people, we don't have any excuse, do we? We're not as traumatized as this precious young woman must have been, and yet she gives us such an example. So one of her poems was on virtue. Ooh, I'm going to read just a little bit of this. O thou bright jewel, in my aim I strive to comprehend thee, thine own words declare. Wisdom is higher than a fool can reach. I cease to wonder and no more attempt thine height to explore or fathom thy profound. But, O my soul, sink not into despair. Virtue is near thee with a gentle hand. Would now embrace thee, hovers over thy head. And she goes on. Isn't that fantastic? This is my favorite. It's Goliath of Gath. Did you know that Goliath the giant came from Gath? I didn't even know that. So I'm going to kind of read a middle paragraph because it's kind of the exciting part, but it's a very long poem. It's incredible. She writes, how front to front the armies were displayed, here Israel ranged, and thee thy foes arrayed. The host on 2 opposing mountains stood, thick as the foliage of the waving wood. Between them an extensive valley lay, o'er which the gleaming armor poured the day. When the camp of the Philistine foes, dreadful to view, a mighty warrior rose, in the dire deeds of bleeding battle skilled. The monster stalks, the terror of the field. From Gath he sprung, Goliath was his name, of fierce deportment and gigantic frame. A brazen helmet on his head was placed, a coat of mail his form terrific graced. The greaves his legs, the targe his shoulders pressed, dreadful in arms, high towering over the rest. A spear he proudly waved, whose iron head, strange to relate, 600 shekels weighed. He strode along and shook the ample field, while Phoebus blazed refulgent on his shield. Though Jacob's race a chilling horror ran, when thus the huge, enormous chief began. So then she talks about how he's taunting. Isn't that incredible? What a gift she had. Isn't that just beautiful? I hope you are as inspired as I am. So then at the very beginning of the book, there's a note from George Washington. She had met him and written a poem about him. So he writes her to explain why he didn't publish it. And basically he said, I loved the poem and was so flattered, but I don't want to appear, how did he say it? Full of vanity. But he says to her, I thank you most sincerely for your polite notice of me in the elegant lines you enclosed. Isn't that precious? And so now I'm taking part of what she wrote about him from a wonderful resource that Dr. Carol Adams is going to publish at FACE. So just keep looking for that. It's about Nathaniel Bowditch. But she's talking about how his captain despised slavery, and Nathaniel Bowditch was enslaved. He was indentured for 9 years from age 12 to 21 because his father just had fallen into loss of his ship, and he had lost his wife and his mom, and he couldn't raise the 5 children, so he indentured his own son. Isn't that sad? But it just kind of gives you a perspective of slavery during those days that we don't have. And so I really encourage you to read the whole book about Phillis Wheatley, read the whole book about Nathaniel Bowditch, so you can understand truly our true history and the struggles that we came out of in setting people free. But it was called To His Excellency General Washington. Just want to inspire you that if you're homeschooling or you're teaching or you're starting a school, you can join us in learning English from a biblical worldview and methodology, the way that our founders learned. I'm so excited. So you can get the link to join us below. I hope this has blessed you. I'm so inspired just picking up a few resources from our heritage. And so maybe that can be something we do more of. It's incredible, the heritage that we have, isn't it? Let's do everything we can to regain it and rebuild it. Thank you so much. And that class, again, is going to be May 2nd. It's going to be 8 weeks. It's going to be on Tuesdays from 6 to 7:30, and then the classes will be recorded. If that doesn't fit your schedule, you can always watch them later, but I'd love to have you live. Thanks so much. I'll see you then. God bless you.